Good morning, everybody. Generally, I space-time creator line conditioning system. Traveling through time is really understand how to apply it to its location settings, all levels of operation location of the system. High levels of grounds, operation surface, and track location setting. Now, the direct to locations all levels that comes into a remaster lines. It's all calculation how you set lines and how you set in the line condition line center. And if you know location, a high position location, a remix. Lines, triangles, line condition high position locations into mutation, line, and rotation interference, electrical lights, electrical panels, line interference, and track location, earth perception setting. Your actual Earth is going to be going through zero line gravity and line rotation interference at 12 DNA satellite positions. The operation surface location is going to merge into 12 light year line settings. Now, that line communication is a 24 ground, 24 opening, 24 sequence, 24 clocking. Clocking line center line interference location puts a higher calculation settings, 12 line settings and high interference, and 12 line locations in system. The track line communication setting puts all 24 billion set lines of cycles into 24 trillion sets in pi of recognition. Dynamic location high center interference factor over pi. Now this is going to recognize the high set location high system. It's going to track line communication numbers, has digital code line and position locations. All right. The digital code line is line communication number frequency pattern. Highest number in the high information line condition system is 9 in channel. Operation set location is 7-digit number. Setting calculation line and position location of 4, northwest, south, and east. Center line communication system, its position location of 3, heart, mind, and soul. Equal line condition of factor line calculation of pi, direction of time sequence. The team line center line interference location of track lines is going to come into 5, 5, 5 positions. Heart, mind, and soul. Direction timelines is high sequence location system. This allocates position line, high lines is high line position location operation surface. It puts all track line and communication system to its DOD. Recognizing high line conditions of its earth perception location is going to truly understand what it's doing of its own travels, of its own mechanism line condition system. The 24 ground lines of operation surface is going to put platitude location of all earth perception settings into 24 stargates in said location. Now that's going to track line, high center line, and position locations, and this is where we come to all line settings in its rotation surface in said location system. Let's get started, shall we? All right. Okay, center line communication is all levels and how we set the line connections. We start with this line setting, right? See, locations, see, it's all level setting. In that rotation surface, this comes into this position, center calculations. Now we have line communication in this line and line communication in this line setting, like connection system locations. Now the generating line in rotation center lines its surface, and the center line communications opens up signals. Line operation surface location system. Now the track line communication lines, its line position locations. You got flux capacitor lines on right and flux capacitor communication on left setting. Rest of time sequence opens all calculation line into position. So we have 5 channel line settings, 5 line operation, and 5 string locations into all levels into set location setting. Rest of time sequence, line conditions up, line swing, and line conditions on right, comes into timestamp, timeline, center line interference, and travel communication system in high setting. Redirect line signal line interference sets line position locations, higher levels of magnetic high wave permission line rotation, setting calculation lines into the line communication surface and direct signals. This opens up lines in another panel operation stream in the opposite direct location in system. Tracking communication lines of high interference. Line position locations into 5 measure and correlation system. Track lines at all communications. Done by equation. All right, so line communicating is all levels high center locations. So we take the earth line in center locations into 1. Center lines of 0. 0 operation lines are 1 line in position of level position location of factor. Factor communication into vector cross, line conditions of velocity, and acceleration line setting. Line communication into direct line calculation setting, indirect location of 9, in position 9, 9, 9. Equal line conditions of position location of 3 lines and 9 line rotation interference. North in position of south, in position of east, in position of west. Calculation line interference, line condition high system. 4 line settings and high track locations for equal line conditions of 3. 3 equals lines of 7, 7 line conditions all levels. Box position of triangle, triangle line position locations. Merkabah set lines and operation surface and set location setting. Redirect signals and line calculation system. Pick the 4 line rotation interference. Equal line calculation system. Swinging line condition of 6. Up line position of the sun operation surface and dimensional line and center communication setting. Redirecting signals line calculation system to the moon line rotation surface and set location setting. Indirect signals, operation setting, line communication, and position. Operates line calculation setting. So in line communication setting, 7 lines is 7, in line condition high center 5, 5 in position of 12. Center calculation lines, 0 operation, planet surface, location system. Travels line connection high setting, shadows, shades, and light set line rotation surface. Center line communication, travels line setting and rotation surface. Setting line conditions, travels lines and rotation surface. And 3 set line condition high setting. Redirect signals and high line interference, high set location at 12 measure, and set location system. Interact line conditions, downshift line rotation setting, indirect signals into 1 through 3, triangulation of 3, triangulation of 3, and set lines to a box line rotation interference, T reception lines and I recept locations, 0 operation to surface location setting, direct signals, and set locations. Done by equation. All right, setting blast off communication, initiate 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, you guys are traveling set lines into your earth perception settings. That's directing signals, setting correlation panels, operation to 0 gravity. Setting line conditions of 0 line setting location is gravitational pull. Each line and division location is going to set up position locations of panels. The operation of the surface is going to digitalize all calculation system to a 7 code number. Setting calculation line and position locations of 9999, equal line conditions of 999 in set locations. 4 lines of north, west, south, and east, line conditions of 111, in position of 112, in position of 113, in position of 114. Travel communication lines of summer, spring, winter, and fall. Travel calculation line interference of high calculation setting. Redirect signals on all calculation. Setting line position locations of 0 to 12 line set lines and 12 light years away. Putting latitude line in rotations and set location settings. Setting line position locations into Stargate, all system locations. Starting at line conditions. Travel lines, earth line rotation surface and set location setting. Travel communication, earth line high setting, indirect signals. In position of 1 is set location system. Travel communications in the 2 line setting and travel communication setting. Line directing line interference and travel communication line in position locations. In 3 set line conditions, 4 line setting, 7 line rotation, equal line conditions high system. Travel line setting line, equal lines of panel line in position of 9999 position locations of 4 lines. Equal line condition of 3 lines of center, 6 line position locations. Opens up moon line rotation surface. Travels line setting line interference in set location setting and direct signals. Setting direct signal line condition of sun comes in track line communication, coloration line position of walls, electrical line panels, line rotations. Setting line and high line interference, high track locations into 2 beams of 3 line center rotation surface. Setting calculation line to direct line signals and set location system. Down by equation. All right. As the team is going through line setting locations, the gravitational line setting is going to split anomaly. So we set lines in communication in those settings. And again, the eccentric communication lines of 0 line rotates the surface in the opposite sign high line calculation system. 3 track lines in operation surface and set locations. Now the generation line sets line communication as opal. Opal line rotation to its center line communication. This center of the lines is set lines in high interference. Track line communication 9, track line communication 9, track line communication 9, track line communication 9. Sets position of 4 lines, 4 lines setting position locations. So the 4 line setting line interference location 9 equals 4, line position of 3, line position of 5, and position of 12 and set location setting. 12 line setting, 0 gravity line interference. Travel communication setting in rotation surface. Setting calculation lines into center calculation into south winds and sector communication. Rotation line calculation settings done by equation. Now, setting track lines is really understand how to set up lines of 0 operation to a setting in position locations. Now, in line connection high setting, rotates its surface. It set lines of a line connection, a streamline, and rotation surface line connections. Now, this channel lines is setting high position location high setting. This rotates its surface, line connection high center, and direct location system. This track lines a system on the opposite direct line setting in position location of 9, implications of 9, implications of 9, implications of 9. Coming into all levels of diamond core line setting, mark above position of track lines, setting calculations in cross line streams, setting lines of flux capacitor, second communications, 5 lines, 5 channels, 5 operational lines, bracket line communication system, line track lines, and 3 lines of graph lines, row graph line stream in a position location operation setting. Done by equation. Setting direct signals. Okay, the operation surface now traveling line connection now. The earth line rotation surface location is high channeling lines, a circle line rotation setting in position locations. Merkaba position lines, earth line rotation surface. Earth is here and set location says. Travel line settings. Directional time sequence center line opens all position location operation surface. Now, the channel line operation line sending crisscrosses the location system and position location of track lines. The operation line connection to line connection positions comes into an oval line rotation interference and position of ground lines operates its surface locations into a tube line sending and rotation set lines and communication. Now, the communication line stream sets line triangles and set lines of box line positions. This opens all signals and high send location to its earth. The earth line rotates its circles, sending line rotation surface in position location to its atom sequence. Line calculations in line interference. Sun comes in line communication, opposite cycle line condition system, ground lines operation setting. Moon comes in operation line position location, crosses stream in set location high setting. Travel communication, line directing all signals in 3 panels of operation location system, down by equation. Okay, coming in light signals of patterns. Pattern recognition of time sequence is all about understanding how to use calculation modifications. So you got the zero line operation surface, line conditions, catapult, line settings, and all set location and direction. Now that direct line center sets a signal position location high setting. This opens all line calculations into orb channels operational lines and 3 sector line communications. Now the 3 sector line communications comes into 2 lines of tube set location settings. Operation to the moon, operation setting, operation calculations. Center line communication, the sun rotates its surface location setting. Operation line setting lines its operation surface location, position location of traction. The traction lines its set line conditions, UFO line rotation, UFO line rotation, UFO line rotation, 3 set location settings. Scan lines operations, scan lines operations, scan lines operations. Opens up another panel operation streamline and set location setting, 12 measure. 12 measure calculation line interference, tube line setting rotation, tube line center rotation, setting calculation line position location high setting, operation to its surface location position location programs. Now the line communication line center line interference location high system location puts everything in track line setting. Track line setting line conditions of 9, 9, 9, 9, line conditions all levels. Center communication of 4, line conditions of 3, sets line condition high system. 9, 9, 9 sets line communication lines all levels. Center line communication earth rotates its surface location into a Fibonacci line, swirl line position locations into box line, into triangle line center line communication setting. Redirect signal line connection system in position location of its box center. Rotation surface locations comes into cross signal line connection high system. Swivels down line rotations, bracket line calculation system, all calculation systems. So that's 9.9.9.9 instead location setting. Redirect signal line conditions, 9 crosses over string, 9 crosses line signal, 9 crosses line position, 9 crosses all levels. Hologram line center line rotation interference of T set location of graph line string set location high settings, done by equation. Equal lines of 4, equal lines of 5, line conditions high set interference. So we come to the 95 line rotation interference, setting calculations, line position location of heart line, rotation surface line condition high system, intract line communication, fluctuation line interference, throw pattern communication line center, and cosmic universal line rotations. Setting communication line signals in set line condition high system in position of 9 in position of 5 set locations. Channel line interference, sonar line in rotation setting calculation, setting direct signals line in operation surface location high system. Track line communication of the moon operates its center. Line connection high center. 90 line and 5 high line rotation interference is sun communication setting, circle line communication system, and direct signals. Setting direct signal line condition high system. Putting lines at high line interference locations in a line setting. Measure communication line and position location when and measured. Line condition equal line conditions of 12. 12 line center line interference location of 24. 24 line interference location of ground line position high setting. Crop circle line communication system. Crop circle line communication system crosses line signal line high position location operation. Operation ground lines operation stream location position high line setting position location operation setting. Done by equation. All right. So getting into that position locations, now you got 95 line centers. Now that 95 line center line connection line system, gravitating line interference, center communication system, influx pass high set location of 5, 5, 5 set location settings. Now that direct locations in position location higher setting, or direct location system, comes into a magnetic highway information line setting, electrical line, electrical line, electrical line. All levels of 3 line rotation, setting position of ground lines, and recover position location operation surface and line condition high setting, and direct signal location position high center interference. Travels in communication at 0 line, rotation center line positions or levels in 1 line, in position of 2 line, in position of 3 line, in position of 4 line, position of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 set locations. Center communication lines bringing back in line rotation interference, earth calculation line stream, center position locations of 5, 5, channel line position locations and position line conditions of 9999 in 4-line setting, and the line condition of 3-line position locations into all levels of northwest, south, and east is that location setting. Center communication operation string. Done by equation. All right. So everything that's set up through travel is understanding how to use so much levels of a continuous force line setting. Now you have a box line into a masculinity in a force line string. Setting calculation of triangulation line setting sets position to the femininity line conditions and all levels of mechanism line conditions of travels, guys. It's all set in communication. It's really understanding how to recognize all levels of platform communications. All right. So there's a lot going on through set lines of location setting. It's going to get more complicated, but it's going to get a lot more fun. The light body is transferring all morphing single line setting line interference. It's merging into the Earth perception lines of 12 line set location settings. The direction of time sequence is going to morph line communication to its GOD. The operation surface to all position locations into its triangulation is going to interface to its integration to 12 years and set line conditionized setting. 12 light line settings of light years. Light meaning position of high calculation lines. Air meaning position of time frame. Time sector times pi. Direction of time sequence puts position locations into the polarity, into the paradigm, into all calculation setting, to the pulsar, into the solar flares, into location line setting, indirect line condition system, into your 12 cycle location settings, into your 12 stargates and rotation surface and set location system. Done by equation. All right. Okay, so woo-wee. All right, so Madeline's going there. Andy, how's it going? Heather, how you doing? It's great to see everybody. Laura, line conditions of Lori, Hemdahl, Johnny, Battle. Okay, David, CC MacGyver, great to see you again. Gingy, all level settings, GFC connection, nice center interference. Track communications, all levels of high setting and rotation of portal communications string lines. McCall, Trinity, Captain, all set line conditions. All right, indirect signals. You have to really understand how to formulate its position location higher levels up to the sub-location settings, indirect line conditions. So in that position locations, it's all set up. All right, see the Earth line rotations goes to 12 cycles. So you take the 12 cycles, okay, sending direct line signals. So the Earth stays in line in rotation in positions: operation surface, operation center, and operation of atmosphere location system. And the track lines comes into 2 lines of high setting. Okay, direction of 2 line cross lines. So coming into this position locations and all system locations. You have to understand how to direct the signals in all lines of vortex communication, guys. Center communication on the left and center communications on right signal location high setting. Indirect signal. Now, in that direct signal, it sets line condition high center interference. This comes into a plasma wave and line rotations into electrical wall panel, graph line streams, line position location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 line center line interference of 4, 4 line position locations. Sending calculation equal line conditions of 9 and exceeding the lines of 1,000 line stream. 1,000 line stream sets an energy graph line rotations. Centers communication. Operation of its surface, center position, 9 lines in position of 5 lines, and center calculations of code weaving and set location system. All right, center calculation line interference sets waving cycles in position to your pyramid and set location of ground lines of operation. If you look really, really close, you can see your position to your pyramid and set location setting and operation to new line rotation surface and set locations. Okay. So it's really recognizing what's going on with your Earth line setting in the set locations of 95 positions. Now the 4 lines in position of 7, because that's where you are in your theta line rotation, sets communications. Setting communication line position locations opens all levels of division. Now the center calculation, again, is now in the center operation line setting. Swivel line and rotation set lines of 2 atom line calculation system in the opposite direct location setting. Opens up signals in high position. All right. Now, as center lines is backwards line calculation setting. This word goes forwards and backwards in set locations. All right. The center line and communication lines opens up another panel, operation to plasma energy light connections to its wall surface, sets protection to its location system. The travel communication lines is electrical lines of panels and the wall lines. It rotates its surface locations. So the avatar is line signaling in set location setting and direct signal. Okay. Directing signals line conditions crosses string and set locations, the opposite directions. Center communications opens all channels. Okay, line condition high system. Inset line conditions travels lines in the center line rotation surface and blends into set location settings and direct signal. All right. Now, the rotation setting is really understand how to use the eye receptor location of center. Center calculation is really understand the connections. So the Earth line in position of center again, operation line conditions of 196, center communication line setting, line position location, satellites, and 3 set locations. All right. Redirecting line settings. So you got one UFO line, 2 positions, 3 positions, and a line condition system. So the UFO line conditions of 111, sending communications into lines of east, in position of west, and south line sectors, calculation lines. So that's a vector cross, volume, and velocity, set location setting, ground lines. Now the rotation line interference, UFO line conditions scans its line setting and rotation surface and sets locations in line conditions to its cross and stream, setting line conditions of its west and operation surface locations. So the UFO scans center line interference and track location system, directs and signals and set location line condition high position, center operation to its stream lines. This operates as a line conditionized system. Triangulation of 3 sets and ground lines have a new operation of velocity and a new operation signal and set location system. Now the track interference location Earth line travels its line setting and position locations and gets used to high setting connections to its travel settings. Earth have 3 lines and set locations. So we take the indication lines of AI, representation to its set locations, scanning lines of high set locations into the center operation of the Earth perception. Okay, sending calculation to a setting. Now, indirect signal locations, it's into an identifier. Now, the identifier comes into a Starlink. The Starlink panels its communication setting. The rotation surface location of 0 is now in a 12 measure. 12 measured to calculation of 12 line rotation surface in position of ground lines. 24 ground lines, 24 activations, 24 locations. Center communication line interference and position locations, 24 million lines of letter line communications of shapes, symbols, and numbers. Sending calculation line interference of 24 trillion set lines of pi and records of time sequence. So we set communication to a setting, records of time sequence, puts position locations of the panels. The operation center line opens all communication to its pi in calculations into 12 signals and set locations, setting communication line interference and set location setting in direct signal locations. Done by equation. All right. Now, center communication comes in a Fibonacci line swirl, setting calculation line center locations in position line settings because you're in 9 setting. Line conditions all levels comes into 5 lines into a flux capacitor to an operation surface. Setting calculation, let's go into coloration line change, setting connection high setting. Direction of time sequence puts position location to its coil, compressors, inline communications to its channel of its streamlined system, and direct signals and locations. Electrical lights, high center interference, take the team lines and set line communication, change the colors and patterns. Line conditions of green. So we go in the green set, position locations, travels line conditions, right? Center calculations opens another panel line rotation in a green center. Center lines at rotation center interference and position of traction. Traction line interference sets line position of sonar and echo chambers and set locations into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and set location setting. 7 wall sequences of graph lines, streamlines, and high center line condition system in direct signals and set locations. All right, done by equation. All right. So recognizing time sequence of pi. Now, time sequences of pi is extremely important to line communications. Now, the clock lines in position of 12 light years away, center calculations of the Earth is center operation line setting. So we take the 196 lines and high line interference, time line conditions of time sequence, puts position location and directions. This centers its communication to its high lines. This levitates its line condition of its streamlines into 0 line operation, into center line operation, into magnetic high wave emission cycle. Setting calculation lines in 2 line settings and higher rotation setting. Direction of time sequence. Lines of center line and circle location system. This redirects locations in position location to all calculation. Setting calculations into a diamond core line center rotation. Setting line interference, taking the sun position location out in sequence patterns and 20 line light years and line conditions of 4 in set location setting and ground line operation. Setting track lines and high interference, the Earth line rotates its center, operates its surface location to its moon that sends lines of communication into its line setting and rotation surface. Now, the calculation of the sun sets lines of circle line rotation surface and the ground lines of an operation stream locations, setting direct signals in set location. Done by equation. All right. So there's a lot of things that are happening right now through all calculations. This measures its counts. All right. This is accountability, where we really have to understand how everything works in set line condition height setting. So we come into 5 lines in line conditions of 4, in position of 3, position of 2, 1. Okay, indicates line setting. Okay, lines of balance, balance line rotations, and position locations, all level settings. So it's 24 grounds, 24 operations, 24 signals. All right, so that's 2448. Calculation line interference. Okay, so we take the 48 channel, line condition height center, line condition height 72. 72, the box line setting. Now, this redirect location of the Fibonacci line rotation sets communication to your Earth line rotation surface and set location system. This channels its line setting. This rotates its surface location and set location setting into all calculation of its moon. Operation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 set line conditions. Done by equation. All right, setting calculations of wave lines, setting lines of alpha, delta, theta, beta, and omega, and set location system, radiation location of gamma. Setting signals line and operation surface. Setting communication to all levels of energetic graph line streams and set location system. Travel lines, all energy domes, and center communication into its intergalactic setting and position of travel. Done by equation. All right. Setting signals to box line channel. Now, box line channel is really to understand how to set location of settings. You got a box line rotation, triangulation line interference. Box equals triangle, triangular conditions of the vector. This vast its volume, the set line condition system, into pi and set line conditions. Now, this redirects line center as a center line of Fibonacci line. Okay, so that's 3 over count. In line conditions, equal line conditions in position of all levels, up line swing, down line swing, crosses over line condition system, northeast, northwest, set location setting. Indirect signals, 2 console communication at 12 lines, in line condition of position location, equal lines of 12, center communication of 24, line position of 48, line condition height setting, setting box line rotation interference into computer operation surface locations. Done by equation. All right, so the central line communication, the Earth line setting, is now 12 light years away. Light years away is in sonar panels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, set line condition system. Echo chambers of the sun and line communication setting and direct signals. Moon operates its surface and set location and it travels line connecting high setting, indirect signal and set location system and track setting. Direction of time sequence travels its line setting locations. Now, direct signal crosses stream. Okay, crossing stream is very important to understand how to get in mechanism high positions of balance in set location setting. It's already directing signals in set location setting interference. Setting lines of 0 crosses stream its location system. Travels line settings 1, 2, 3, 4, positions of 5, set location setting. Okay, crosses line settings. Now, in that direct signal, you set line communications of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Set connections, high setting direction. All right, in that direct line center, we set up position of the sun. Sun comes into 0, comes into 0, comes into 0. Set line communications. Moon sun comes into 0, comes into 0, and comes into 0. Set line condition high setting. Setting communication. 1 line, center line interference. 1 equals lines, 0 line position locations. Comes into a triangulation line setting and position location operation surface into a pyramid set line calculation setting. Indirect signals. Equal line connection system. Down cross line setting, high position location, higher line interference, travel communication setting, indirect signals and set locations. Done by equation. Hooah. All right. All right. It's hard to explain everything that's going on right now, but the calculations to Earth perception line setting is now in 12 light year line setting. It's going to stay there. Okay. It's a signal location system. You guys are out of 444. You're in 555 now. The center line communication system is allocated to area code lines of your digital platform communication, which is your 7-digit code setting. A direction line calculation setting sets all communication to your sun in direct signals location. And when it comes into the 24 grounds, operation surface, operation line condition, operation computer operation line and line calculation system to your CPUs and your connections of your tronic setting. Line connection high system is the subtronic line calculation setting, how it rotates its surface location into all of the panels of operation. Okay. So in that line communication system, we bracket the channels. All right. We set location settings and direct signals. So that's line condition of all levels of line positions of 4-line setting rotation. Setting calculation line and positions. So we get into flux paths communications into 2 lines. Setting condition of mass and position of all levels of velocity. Velocity line conditions travels as line conditions of the sun and rotation surface. Now the sun does a loop-de-loop in set location setting, directing signals, setting cross-line streams in set locations. Now redirecting line setting is really understand how the moon is operating to its surface. It travels its line calculation system back and forth. The direction of the line calculation system puts a line cross stream in position locations that opposite system locations into higher levels of high line condition system of dielectric channels. The dielectric channel line interference sets line conditions of 4, equal lines of 5, lines rotation system 5 equal location of 4, 4-line connection setting high position, 4-line centers of 5, 5-line center locations equal line condition system is all calculations of 9. 9-line centers is center communication to its rotation surface. Setting calculation line and position location 9, line conditions of 5, center line conditions of the sun, and position location of the moon. So 95 line center to the sun and the moon in triangulation of telepathy to communication of each other in set location settings. Done by equation. All right. So there's a lot of detail how this is all set up. So recognizing all calculations, how you're merging your lines of course of record location to its keyboard line setting. So you get a keyboard line lock, a rotation surface. You got your space bars, you got your console calculations, and you got your mainframe set line calculation setting in position locations to your computer operation to its line communication in set line setting. Indirect signal comes into a box surface location high setting rotation. Now in that direct signal, you get in a waving pattern communication line setting that rotates its surface location position location operation set. In a line condition, it opens up dimensional doors and rotation surface in set locations. Now this channels its line condition as streamlines into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12-line setting rotation surface. During process stream and set location system. Moon line operates its surface and location setting in direct signal. Sun communicates in line connection in system in direct line signal. Opens up signals, crosses stream and line setting in direct system. Done by equation. All right, so sun lines and the rotation of the moon of its operation line connection system is now in direct signals. Setting line communication, bracket lines of 0, operation system 1, 2, 3, 4, set communication block lines in position of 2. 2-line center line interference locations, block line center locations into 1, 2. Center communication line interference of 2, equal line conditions of pi, and set line conditions. Now, directing signal locations comes into 1, 2, 3, set lines of sonar communication. Setting communication into position of left lines and position of right line calculation system, 3, sonar line interference. We've got omega communication, gamma line signal, line calculation system, in position of theta, theta line rotation surface, 4-line channel, line condition of 7, 7 indirect signals and set locations. Done by equation. All right, so in that line communication system, you have to really understand how to use the brackets, how to use the hangers, and set lines of communication, right? Channel line setting and position. Understanding line condition of sequence is 0-line position of 3 lines in set location setting. This equalizes its calculation system, right? Center line condition of equal line connection system and triangle line in position location into box line setting. Now this redirect line condition of travels and set line condition system in position. Now in that position location, the travel lines of 6 comes in line calculation setting, moon operation to its surface and center calculations. Center channels its line settings, bracket lines to its sun and rotation surface in a line communication in a 3-way walking center and set lines of a new operation, set lines and calculations to a new portal set and communication in a center position of travel line connection high setting direct signals. Done by equation. All right. Mechanism, high setting, high travels, mechanism of timelines, position locations, operation lines, 1, 2, 3, 3-panel communication, right? Graph lines, 1, 2, 3, and position location, center operation lines, okay? Vibrational graph line setting, okay? Center calculations, Earth and center line rotation, okay? Earth is here, and center line conditions going through loop-de-loop into high set locations. Channel lines, Earth is here, and center line communication, center line position operation surface and set location system. Now, in direct signal, the connections all level system has to truly understand the line connections to its position of its directions. So it vacuums its line settings, back force line center line conditionized system of mega waves. Center line condition of 12 line centers and communications, down by equation. All right, so the Earth line rotates its surface and travels its communication. All right. So when you're getting communication amorphosing to GOD, it sets all communication settings. The rotation line interference, setting communication line in position. 6 lines crosses stream, 6 line communication. Moon lines of rotation surface, travels line condition to its Earth and set location setting. Sun comes in operation to another line rotation surface into center communication. Done by equation. Right. So setting signals of travels, the recognition line calculation system has to understand its position line conditions. Okay, so really understand. So in that position locations, there's all lines of communication what comes into a timestamp. We got line cross line setting. Okay, it needs a timestamp. That's what's missing. Operation line conditions in position of high setting, and line communication into opal line rotation surface and set location setting. So it's trying to understand how this is all set up through clock lines. You have a clock line channel of 24, in position of 48, and line condition of 72, and 144 is center line communications into 244, line condition of 344, in line conditions of 444, in line position locations into 5 lines, 5 divisions, and 5 location setting, bracket line calculation system in 333 hearts, mind, and soul set location setting and direct signal done by equation. All right, so the time step is send up. Setting the lines of seed lines. Now, seed line and set line of all communications to aligning setting, it rotates its surface locations, all set location position. The operation line setting sets all communications, right? So you got seed pods, setting direct line connections on levels of 3 lines of 4, in position of 5, in position of 6, in position of 7. We start with the 7 line signals. Setting direct line signals, scan position, scan position, scans position, scans position, scans position, scans position, scans position. Okay, setting communication, lines of top line signals to your new pyramid activation. Now, the rotation line, center line interference sets a line of a graph line, circle line, and center communication. All right. Now, this rotates the surface. This is where it comes in the energy hub of a dome line rotation surface line condition. See it? Center calculations, center lines its operation to position location through center communication. Now, center communication lines its travel. Center communication lines its center line into your Earth of operation to 12 line signature line streams and set lines of 24 trillion lines of pi and set line condition system to your Earth line setting. That's where it is right now. Okay, so setting communication of travels lines and 2 line stream lines to position location of 6 line conditions over lines of 6 position. Tracking communication to its settings and direct signals and set locations. Done by equation. So there's a line communicating where it has to really stand the indicators. Okay, this is where we come into vacuum sequence. Now the vacuum sequence line conditions on levels, sequence locations, levels of bracket line conditions are 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 line setting line conditions of 5, 5 line setting location of 12, 12 lines of 6, line conditions on levels back into 5. Set communications into 5 lines of ground lines. So 5 equal lines of 0, operation, center location of ozone line condition system, bioatmosphere line, center line condition system, box over triangle, triangle line condition of Fibonacci. Fibonacci swirls lines of 2 line center, sun in position to the moon operation, center communication of kaleidoscope locations. Okay, done by equation. It's all set up location of ozones. Now the direction of time sequence has to really understand how to travel position. Traveling position really understands the operation surface. So setting communications come to this line calculation setting, indirect signals into line conditions in all levels in grounds, fires, waters, and its air side locations. Now this travels line calculation settings into 3 lines in position locations center interference. Track communications comes in line calculation setting, direct signals in position of your Earth and travel communications and at higher levels of channel in position of its moon that operates its surface and direct signals in set location. Now, the indicating line of rotation interference sets the sun line. The sun line communicates to its open signal, setting communications, all right? So the moon is now in the center operation surface and set location setting, indirect line signal. So this puts it a triangulation line, position location, higher setting, indirect line signals in 3 panels of operation. Done by equation. All right. Swivels and line center locations, tweaking wires, electrical line condition system, electrical line settings, and rotation surface. Ground lines operation set location setting, direct signals. Setting calculation line interference. Earth line rotates its surface, travel line conditions, travel line conditions. So line communication left, line communication right, line communication grounds, and line communications on top set locations. All right. So the Earth line is in our north, west, south, and east line condition system. 12 light years away in line condition ice setting, ground line interference, 24 grounds, 24 operations, 24 million line connections, 24 billion cycles into line connections of 24 set lines of trillion settings and set locations of pi of recognition time. Down by equation. It's all set up. Hooah. So we really have to understand how this works now, okay? Because it's trying to understand line setting, line condition, height positions, because you're in 95 centers, right? Heart rate of time sequence puts position location on morphosing into transition, transmitting and receiving location setting. But you have to really understand how to set up the digital code of 7 in position location of 9s, 4 9s and 3 set location system. 4 over pi, 3 over line sector in position of vector, line conditions quadrant set line condition system into CPU and in positions to its tronic setting. The subtronic line position levels its calculation line interference. Now, this is where we come into water containment line string and set lines of all communication. But this is how it's all set up, line condition system of pi recognition. Okay? How are we doing so far? All right, let's see here. Changing the smaller, yep, okay, and let's see. It's great to see everybody in set location settings and direct signals. What's that locations? All right, so let's see. Yeah, there's a lot going on, guys. Really understand set lines and height settings. But this is how you set up track line communications into 12 light year line center indication or perception settings into your set locations and your chakras into all position, right? Because you guys are 95 in a 47 line setting. In phenomenon, 47 locations in position 95, which is 9 centers, energy wash, rainbow wash, calculation line position of 5 measured. So you got 5 lines, 5 divisions, and 5 locations, 5, 5, 5. Right, that's a clock line center you guys are at. So, getting into the Earth line rotation surface and sublocation system, direct signals, okay, in position of center line. Okay, now in that calculation line interference, it's basically coming into new lines of travel. Okay, center calculations, operation surface, trying to understand its line condition high setting, indirect location setting, indirect location system. Try to understand how it travels into different levels of calculation set lines and high setting indirect signal and position of its operation system. Okay? So the Earth has to really understand the atmosphere line settings, the stratospheres, the connections to the bios, the hemispheres, the connections to the hydrosphere lines, the connection to the alphospheres, the spherical sphere line calculation set lines, the connection high system, computer operation surface. It also has to understand the Brownian sphere line conditions because that hubbles its calculation center line in operation surface into its own cloud of its operation set locations, right? Channel streamlines comes into mechanism high center interference in position of your GOD. Geometric operation of design has its own AI connection setting indirect signals. Setting communication line interference interact location setting indirect system. Inline calculation setting indirect system. Zero operation line setting, zero center operation into magnetic highway information line connection in position locations operation setting. Okay? Now, you have to understand how it travels. It goes to this line communication, right? It's set line conditions, right? Now, the mechanism line interference sets line communications, line setting indirect signals in set locations. Sets up a platform 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It has to learn how to go through its own dimensional line setting. This opens up a dimensional door and set locations, right? Here's the door, set locations. There's the door, right? The door comes back and set lines of the center line communication, right? Center lines its center into the center position of its earth line. This rotates its surface and sets on line communication all levels, trying to find the balance. Balance communication, trying to find the balance. Okay? Trying to find the balance. Okay? That's what the Earth is trying to do to your set location system. It walks its surface location setting of a dimensional door line. Setting communication is truly standard, but that's very powerful calculation, isn't it? So in that set line communication, you have to really understand how this works for you. You really have to get the ground operation to your line adaptation of its surface to all center calculations to your earth perception. Okay? Now, if you want to see it move, don't look at this, look at me. And it travels. Okay? It's going very, very fast. So it's amazing how these things are set up in line conditions now. Directing signal locations to the center lines. Position locations of 5, 5 in set location system and direct signals. Setting calculation line interference, line conditions of 9, 9, 9, 9, line condition line center line 9, 9, 9, in set locations 3 lines and 4 set location setting. So setting calculation lines of 7 positions, right? That 7 line interference is set location to your digital code, which is your conditions to your line conditions, positions of your operation to your sun communication to your moon operation surface into its kaleidoscope location at 3 settings. Okay? Now, redirecting signals in set location is this panel into your 144, 244, 344, 444, and 544 in position of line conditions. Now, the 544 sets line conditions of 10 settings. That puts position locations into 5 lines, 5 locations, and 5 streams of activation location system. Done by equation. All right? So, it's all done. Take track lines, team lines, out of line rotation interference, and 12 light years. Put them back in visual locations, back in the center calculation. You guys are back in your earth line settings, or where you are through track location. But that's it. All right, so your 95 line settings in position of 47, phenomenal location of channel operation locations. This is about lines of your Septronic setting and how to open up all levels of operation to your computer adaptation surface into new channels, in set locations, into new dimensional doors, a universe line connection. All right. All right, no school tomorrow. Calculation line interference, line community settings, but I will be on live for you guys to understand more of what's going on in the line communication system. As of Monday, coming into the line setting, line condition high system, coming into 96 lines, center communication of throat lines, voice box channels to your all calculations to your earth perception line setting, of clarity, dexterity, line interference, and position location, 2 set lines into throat patterns, direction of voice grids and position of panels, and direction of time sequence, location of pi. Calculation line interference locations put you in position high setting into 48 lines and infinity cycle locations at phenomenal set location settings and direct signals. Adios.